What are some of the top decks that we're expecting to see in 2026? Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that Resonator button so you guys don't miss out on more Oscar. I know this is going to be a hard one to consider here, but I think Resonators might actually have one of the coolest game plans going into 2026 here. The Red Hypernova Dragon, the new level 12 synchro that requires 4 tuners, and the basically Red Dragon itself to jump into. Being able to clear your opponent's entire graveyard on a boss monster is an insane feat. Like, honestly, something that feels very custom cardy, or at least in the realm of custom cards. And it's interesting to me just to see that how many players have been picking up the helm of Resonator online to test. It really does prove that Konami making that boss monster was the correct call. And honestly, I know it's a lot saying that Resonator's going to be a top, contender, but when you literally print one of the most custom boss monsters that you can think of in modern era times, I can't help but kind of think the same, people. I'm really looking forward to seeing, how Resonator is going to kind of evolve with the Crimson King, and when you actually do have that strong boss monster that you can access, because also, Resonators have the ability to level mod themselves down to 1 across the board, and I think people kind of forgot about that, because that was one of the giant thoughts that it was like, how is Resonator making this? They have level modification, people. They have in-house tools to make this boss monster. It's just, is a shooting single Quasar boss monster going to fundamentally be enough to be able to slow down the tide of the evolving meta? That's where our question kind of comes into. Predaplant. So Predaplant is definitely an interesting meta challenger. Now, the reason why I say Predaplant's interesting is because now that they can incorporate synchro into their toolbox, they can actually just access a lot of cool things. And that's honestly another big thing that I think the deck has going for it, is how much searching can one deck do? You have the ability to bridge into instant fusion now within the archetype, people. You know how crazy that is to think about? You've also got access to ultra polymerization. You've got access to all of these different little toolbox cards that tend to make so much of a difference in the scaling of things. It is kind of interesting in the deck building space to what is going to be the right ratios. How many of the new Super Poly 2 are you going to play to be able to target something on the field and fuse with that monster? What's going to be the appropriate... Are we going to look at Ultra Polymerization as a card? I mean, obviously, you're going to play the Instant Fusion because you can bridge into it because it itself turns into another starter along the way. What are these ratios going to be? And, of course, you got the new Heavenly Dragon of the 4 Pillars. You got your retrain on Starving Venom. So they're giving this deck some new support, I think has inspired some of the coolest deck building that we have seen. And, when your deck has in-house Super Poly, when your deck has in-house access to all of these incredibly different things, and also, you just got Plant Circular, alright, don't even get me started on the fact you can mill down Biblisp and, start to deviate and go down other ways with that, and also, it is a level modifier itself. Yeah, Plant Circular might make a difference for Predaplants in the upcoming year. Now let's talk about Malice. So recently Malice in the OCG just had Red Ransom absolutely blown away out of their arsenal. Red Ransom was basically the tool that could banish the dot scraper. You'd get an extra extender, but it was also the monster whose job was to search for the field spell and basically kind of get you set up. And most of the initial concept in the very early stages was, oh boy, Malice it's dead now. Red Ransom was game over. Now, the OCG proved to us that this deck could evolve further. Malice has remained one of the most resilient choices within the modern era times. Not just strictly because of, you know, what the deck can do. It's because of the arsenal of tools that it has. All right, we've taken away Splash Mage, which took away the Extender. You took away Red Ransom, which gives it another Extender / field spell to bridge in. You've now taken away another, you know, monster for you to revive off of the combo, leaving you with White Binder and just the Heart's Cryptor. You know, you're not getting that free advantage that you would get off of it. Now the combo, we've knocked it down another peg, and somehow the deck still has proven itself as a resilient monster. And it is so crazy to think about just how strong this deck remains on this front. So as we head into 2026 here, no matter what Konami might do to this deck, whatever future hits they've got planned, I think it is some time to give it some real consideration. Because, you know, we were joking recently. We saw all the prices spiking around on Malice cards in the TCG. And lo and behold, the reason for all of this madness is it's resilient. You can build a whole house with this deck, and it can still be a tier 1 monster. And that's crazy. The continued domination of Mitsurugi. So, Mitsurugi did get that new Demise monster, which gives you access to 3 more copies of Mitsurugi Ritual while you took pre-preparational rights away from them. Which, by the way, milling down the spell out of play gives you the ability to recur the spell back I think it's Kusanagi is the one that's able to recur back the card. Which you're now telling me that you gave them, and you took away pre-prep. And then you said, oh, sorry, we didn't mean to take that away from you. You've given them another means to just pay 2K, dump the ritual out of play, spin it back around, and then access it that way. I can't possibly imagine that there will be ramifications or any sort of downside to the possibility of this. Also, Mitsurugi remains one of the scariest decks right now because it has not gotten any support. Do you know how crazy it is to think about right now that we live in a world where Mitsurugi has not been supported? That is a scary, scary thought, and I'm not exactly too excited to think about what they might have planned for a future line of support for that. But you know, all jokes aside right now, people, I think that Mitsurugi is going to be a deck we're going to be seeing all the way up until WCQ 2026. And if Konami is going to continue to dodge this, it is going to be an interesting one, to say the least. I don't know. I'm not too excited about that, but there is definitely a chance. I don't know, man. Thinking about having Mitsurugi sticking around in the course of the meta on another 6 months is kind of disheartening. But hey, I guess you can get it straight out of a Legendary Dex box in the upcoming months, so I guess that's a win. And then surely something from Phantom Revenge has to kick in. I know, I have been the biggest advocator for anything with Phantom Revenge for the 3 decks, because that support makes or breaks 2026. It is a deck build pack that if you give it the correct support, the flip deck becomes even better. You know, you give it some access to something really crazy, Cool Tune gets even better. Cool Tune's already on the edge. And I continue to say this. Anything that you could do to Cool Tune to make that deck better, even the slightest push in a better direction, will make that deck infinitely stronger. And I believe that Konami has, you know, the knowledge of where they want to take these themes in the future. It's just we're left in a position right now that, you know, maybe we, the community, aren't the most happy with how Phantom Revenge has been handled. I'm honestly hoping here in the future that we will see some sort of deviancy or some sort of change along that path, and Phantom Revenge does become the big set that is meant to change. Because, like, you have everything set up here, Konami. You just have to push it. Just make a Torimar a better deck. Make Cool Tune an actual meta challenger. Give Pekka hands and Illusion the tools that they need to stand out in 2026. All right? And I think, honestly, they're the secret top decks. Trust me. I don't know. All right? So please, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in day, guys. patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.